conflict can happen between the Vaishnavas. What to speak of material world? So if you think, oh, that devotee said like this to me. So then from this pastime, which is one of the very, very important and significant storyline that brings about very important lessons, this pastime teaches us how, for some reason, whatever situation could be, somebody might offend you. But when a Vaishnava offends you, how we should deal with it. How should we deal in a conflict that rises between Vaishnavas or between the community like that? Hare Krishna. So that's the subject matter. And now we begin with chapter 16, where the Lord appeared on the scene and seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. Lord didn't come alone. Lord came along with Mother Lakshmi, seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. Fokumar's mind was pacified, and the Lord began to speak. And that would be the discussion of the 16th chapter. And this pastime raises many questions, many questions. First question is, why Vaikuntha need a doorkeeper? Does Vishnu needs security? Does he require security? So we discussed that. And the answer was, devotees are so eager for service, just like Mother Lakshmi would even take a broomstick and will broom Vaikuntha, although Vaikuntha doesn't need brooming. Similarly, Jai Vijay picked up the opportunity to serve Lord in the form of gatekeepers. Like that was the subject matter. How come Jai and Vijay become angry? Anger, Kamesha, Krodesha, is a younger brother of lust. Anger rises in mode of ignorance. If anger rises in mode of ignorance, and if Vaikuntha, which is beyond the three modes of material nature, and Vaikuntha Vasis are of the same nature and the form as of the Lord, how can the Vaikuntha Vasis between Jai and Vijay can get angry? How do we understand that? That's the question we're going to continue in today's discussion. Then the four Kumaras, they were monist. Monist means Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. They were Brahmavadis. Brahmavadis, how can they get angry? Just like devotees cannot get angry, similarly, how come Brahmavadis get angry? Because they have attained. What is that shloka? Na sochati na kankshati. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sochati na kankshati. Well, there is no question. They're completely occupied. How can four Kumaras become angry? And then Prabhupada says in that particular purport, describing four Kumaras becoming angry, the four Kumaras did not become angry for their own interest, because that is not possible. So how come four Kumaras became angry? They became angry because their service to the Lord was hampered. What was their service? They were so eager to have darshan of the Lord, because that was obstructed. Therefore, they became angry. So the anger in this world arises because of kama. Anger in the spiritual arises because of prema. When the prema is obstructed. That's the difference. Here, krodha arises, and the material krodha is because of my interest. But there they wanted to see the Lord because that intense prema, the feeling of longing to see the Lord, because of that krodha arises. Let's begin with chapter 16 here to give you a summary of it. This is, what do you say, one of the best chapter. This is a chapter which you always want to refer in case if you ever have a conflict in relationship with Vaishnavas, or if in case you want to study something on the subject matter of Vaishnava Aparadha, or in else if you want to study something about the subject matter of Lord's affection for his devotees. So here, Vaishnava relationships, how to deal with conflict between Vaishnavas, and how does Lord reciprocates or deal in such kind of conflicting situations, and also what is the relationship of Lord's affection, or what is the nature of Lord's affection for his devotees. Like these are the important themes and subject matter of this chapter. Very, very important chapter, particularly for all of us who are living in a Vaishnava community and ourselves struggling with consciousness. So that's the subject matter. So the storyline for this chapter, just to give you a quick overview of this, the Lord appears at the scene and he begins to speak to the four Kumaras, and he begs forgiveness. He asks for forgiveness that my servants have offended you. So because they are my servants, on my name they're doing service, which means if they commit a mistake, which means I have committed an offense. So I offer I request you to forgive us. Like that, Lord began. And then Lord began to glorify his Brahmanas. Just because of their dust is kept on my, he pointed towards his helmet crown. Because of that, the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, I have attained all my perfection and glories. Mother Lakshmi want to sit on my chest just because Brahmanas are pleased with me. Like that, Lord began to glorify the Brahmanas. And folk Kumar were thinking, Prabhu, kuch zyada nahi ho gaya kya? We came here in this world to Vaikuntha to have your darshan, to purify ourselves. And Lord is saying, by the dust of Brahmanas, although I purify everyone else, but by the dust of the feet of Brahmanas, I get purified. Like there are, verses glorifying Brahmanas. And then we'll also come across subject matter. So in other words, Lord praises like this, and then four Kumaras begin to speak, and they counter every statement made by Lord in context of glorifying the Brahmanas. And where four Kumaras says, well, this is not possible, this is not possible. Like that, they have a discussion. And then the question arises, Lord says that four Kumaras, oh dear Brahmanas, two things are happening here. First, why is Lord glorifying the Brahmanas and why Lord is asking for forgiveness from the four Kumaras? That's the first thing. So why Lord has to do it? So Srila Vishnu Chakra and our Acharya says the reason why Lord is asking for forgiveness because four Kumaras, as you saw in the previous chapter, they had become little insecure. They're not insecure in that sense. They had become little not upset, what should I say? They were terrified. They thought they have offended a great Vaishnavas. Just to alleviate that moroseness from the heart of the four Kumaras, that they have not committed any aparadha. Don't worry, you have not committed Vaishnava aparadha. So don't be frightened, don't be so repentant. Lord asks for forgiveness. So here Lord tells four Kumaras, the punishment that you have given them is approved by me. So what does it mean, approved by me? Which means it is ordained by me. Which means this whole thing was enacted by the will of the Lord. So now question arises, if it was the will of the Lord, now do you think in Vaikuntha there are only two doorkeepers, there are two servants, Jai Vijay? There would be unlimited servants. As we know, Brahma Samhita says, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamana. When there is hundreds and thousands of Lakshmi, what to speak of other servants? So, what good fortune or bad fortune, whatever we are to take a look at it, was of the Jain Vijay, the Lord selected Jain Vijay. But kuch na kuch to Jai Vijay ne kaand kiya hoga na. But why did Lord selected to send Jai Vijay to the material world? Because that was the wish of the Lord. So that question is a very appropriate question to be looked into it. So we'll take a look into it. What our Acharya says, why did Lord selected Jai Vijay among so many servants? We'll take a look at it. And then when four Kumaras actually reached Vaikuntha, Yad Gatvana Nivartante is a constant theme of Bhagavad Gita. Then why did four Kumaras came back? This is correct. So this is such a brilliant chapters. Now it is filled with contradictions. And it's very important to pay attention to reconcile this contradiction. So why did four Kumaras? And they did not enter Vaikuntha yet. They were stopped at the gate only. And Lord also came to meet them at the gate only. The four Kumaras didn't even enter Vaikuntha. They were only at the door. All right, but Tasya Ravinda Nayanasya Pada Ravinda Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi, Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi, Makaranda Vayu, by the fragrance, by the breeze carrying the fragrance of the Tulsi Maharani, which is kept at the lotus feet of the Lord. Antargata Savavirena Chakara Tesham, enter through the nostrils into the body of four Kumaras. Sankshoma Vakshara Jushama Vichitta Tanvo caused such a agitation. In other words, it removed all the monistic idea, Akshara Jusham, which means Brahmanvadi, destroyed the concept, established the personality of the Lord to be the highest, and drew so much attraction for the Lord. Are, why would you leave Vaikuntha? When you're right in the audience of the Lord, Lord is there with all his companions, and then four Kumaras says, they're going. Why would four Kumaras leave Vaikuntha and come back? like this is a subject matter. There are more subject matter to be discussed, but major prominent theme is of the most important theme is of, well, 2, 3 themes again. This is something, if you have a book, you want to note down for yourself on top of the chapter so you know what to refer to. Vaishnava Aparadha, how to reconcile conflicts between devotees, and who does the Lord favors in case of a conflict. Hare Krishna. Okay, sorry, I don't want to get distracted with this thing. But don't roll them like this. Roll straight. Okay? Roll straight. Don't do that diagonally. Okay, anyways, going back to the class. Fine. All right, let's begin with it. So now we can have the screen if you wish to show. So Brahma Vacha, I'll not go all the verses. Lord Brahma said, after this, congratulating the sages. 1 second. Let me open my Vedavesh. And you have your verses over here, right? After this, congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of God is abode, is in the kingdom of God, spoke as well. So Lord began to speak. What did Lord say? We'll take a look at directly to the verses translation. The Lord said, text number 2 here. The personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jai Vijay, by name, have committed a great offense. The Lord spoke like this just to, tell folk Kumaras, you have not committed any Vaishnava Aparadha. They deserved it because they offended you first, like this. And Prabhupada, very nice paragraph. Purports are very, very important. Let's take a look at the purport. The first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, to commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord is a great wrong. Even when a living entity is promoted to Vaikuntha, there is still the chance that he may commit offenses. But the difference is that when one is in Vaikuntha planet, even if by chance one commits an offense, he is protected by the Lord. This is a remarkable fact in the dealings of the Lord and the servitor, as seen in the present incident concerning Jaya and Vijaya. The word atikramam used here indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself, like this. Text number 3. Prabhupada makes a point at the end of the Prabhupada, the goddess of fortune is not to be seen by ordinary persons, but the Lord was so kind that although the devotee Pokumar didn't came there to see Lakshmi, they came to see the Lord. Yet Lord gave that honor to the four Kumaras. He appeared there along with the Lakshmi. Text number 3. I approve of the punishment that you have meted out on Jai and Vijay. That's what it means. Text number 4. And then Lord says, Tadva prasadyami yatya brahma daivam param hime tadhiti atma kritam manye yasva pumbh asatkritaha, disrespectful or disrespected. Prasad mercy. Prasadyami. I am asking for prasad mercy, which means I seek for forgiveness. To me, the Brahmanas is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the domain are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. All right. This is a very interesting subject matter. I take this to be an offense by myself, that I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. In 7th canto, there's a beautiful verse where this particular question is answered. Why did Lord Narasimhadev appear? Did Lord Narasimhadev appear because Hiranyakashipu broke the pillar? And therefore he came? Because Lord had to kill Hiranyakashipu, therefore he appeared? No. Okay, the verse will come back in memory in a short time. The Lord actually appeared because it was the request of his dear servant. So it is mentioned, the Lord appeared not to kill Hiranyakashipu. For that, Lord could have arranged anyone else to kill. The Lord appeared because it was the will of his devotee. Prahlad said, yes, my father, Lord resides even in this planet, because Prahlad said, Lord appeared. Therein, Prabhupada mentions, this shows the great affection of the Lord towards his devotee. So Lord asking for forgiveness here, actually, and not forgiveness, Lord saying that offense committed by my devotees is an offense committed by me, actually indicates Lord's deep affection, isn't it? If you don't have an affection for a person, if he commits an offense, even if he's your servant, employee, whatnot, you say, hell with him, this rascal should be punished. But whose protection do you come? Who you consider to be mine? No, I acknowledge, I'm sorry for the mistake he has done. I also take the blame. He's mine, right? That is how Vishnu Chakra Thakur emphasizes here. And therein, Prabhupada brings a very beautiful point, which will be discussed ahead, but I'm just introducing here because we're talking about it. Therefore, devotees of the Lord have to be very careful in their Vaishnava dealings. Because being part of Krishna's Vamsha, Achyuta Vamsa, particularly after Diksha, Achyuta Vamsha, you're part of Krishna's family. And how you behave would also impact Krishna's reputation. What does people say? Ye ISKCON wale aise hi hain. Right? What it means? They're actually finding fault with the Lord himself. That's the point here. Text number 5. When a servant commits sin using the name of his master gets criticized and has his name destroyed. Just as a white spot on the skin condemns a person as a leper. Lord gives an example. So the four Kumaras are thinking, how can the Supreme Lord commit an offense? Okay, even if you have committed an offense, you are Swarat. Who could punish you? Who could restrict you? The Lord said. This is Vishnu Chakra Thakur. Generally, he would give a conversation. There can be no punishment for me. But what is the punishment? For the Lord. The Lord cannot be punished by anyone. But what could be the punishment for him? This is my question. Answer do.
Lord having his intimate separated by his devotee.
What is the punishment for the Lord? Lord, the four Kumar says, my dear Lord, who can punish you? Yes, Virat. But Lord said, yes, I can be punished. Of course, nobody can punish him, but I am punished by one thing. What? Infamy. Therefore, I raised a point prior. Our conduct is so important. Therefore, we were reading it last time. Who can go back home, back to Godhead? That was a discussion previous chapter. Who can go back to Godhead? Who has cultivated Vaishnava qualities. Which means this is so essential to act according to Vaishnava conduct. Therefore, etiquettes is a very, very important subject matter for us to understand. We just cannot act the way we feel like. We cannot. Therefore, there are codes of conduct in every dealing. Just like the devotees who are staying here, their association is organized with certain rules and regulations. Like one thing which really irritates me or make me angry, agitated, a devotee leaves without informing. And then I'm wondering, where is the devotee? And then I ask devotees, where is the devotee? They say, Prabhuji, hame pata nahi. And then my Rudra Roop comes into manifestation. And now you get chested, what can I do? You made a mistake. You can't. I have made it very clear. You're living here, then I see it as our family. You disappear without telling me. And not only me, disappear telling about other managers also. And ask everyone, where is? And they say, hame pata nahi. What is it? Then for such a person, I only say one thing. Doors to Barsana Dham are closed. Find your accommodation elsewhere. You're not fit for it because you don't understand what is your conduct like that. So it's something important we have to. Anyway, that was subject matter. Infamy is what is a punishment to the Lord. Text number 6. Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath and hearing through the ear the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate. What does Krishna say? Lord say, therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if the conduct of my servants are found hostile to you. What does it mean? I would not hesitate to lop off my arms, which means The punishment as you have meted against or towards my servants to send them to the material world. It's just like separating my limbs from my body. It shows Prabhupada purports a brilliant purport. Again, I'm saying if you're down in your spirit of bhakti, having doubts, come back to this chapter. Generally, the issue that arises in life of devotee is because of Vaishnava association issue, not being able to deal. Please come back here. How Lord loves his devotees. I'm willing to lop off my own arms, like this, which means the punishment which has been meted out. The four Kumars were wondering, yaar, abhi to bola, I seek forgiveness. And now you said, I permit the punishment. Now you're saying, I'm willing to lop off my arms. Are you indicating that we have cut off your arms? Because we are sending these two doorkeepers away from you? The four Kumars are totally bewildered. What is going on here? What is Lord saying? Text number 7. I'm not going in every aspect of this purpose. Please read it. It will take a long time. Text number 7. Even Lakshmi, to whom I show no attachment, but to gain whose favor other performs vows, does not give up the dust from my feet, which immediately destroy all contamination are full of all qualities. But these feet, that verse only, but I'm reading it differently. Don't worry. There's a text number 7 only. So I'm reading it differently. So you take a look at it. I'm going through the verses. But these feet are made pure by service to devotees like this. So what happens when Prabhupada gives a translation? Within translation, he gives a purport. It does not go in a sequence necessarily. So I'm here going with the Sanskrit verses language that way. So तुम घूम रहे हो कहाँ गया कौन सी लाइन आ गई? So catch it. So I'm just giving you a different, same thing, but summarize of this. And the key point is Vishnu says, Lord says here, but these feet are made pure by service to devotees like you. So my feet, everyone is hankering for the dust particle of my feet. So how come my feet have gained such a glory? My feet have become glorious by rendering service to you. Service to Brahmanas. So here Lord is talking about, so Prabhupada makes a very beautiful point. The devotees have become glorious when they render service to the Lord. And Lord is saying, I become glorious after rendering service unto you. And therefore, Guhyatama, 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, what I'm about to tell you is the most confidential knowledge. Even if a Vaishnava has committed an Aparadha, he is not to be considered faulty in general. Of course, the institution management has to take due diligence and have to met out appropriate punishment. But for the rest of the community, they don't have to look from that point of view. The problem arises when everyone begins to criticize, even when they don't have an authority to do it. And that is extremely displeasing to the Lord. And what to speak of those who dedicated their life in expanding and sharing the glories of the Lord. I'm not talking about somebody who just lived their life and just focused on their own growth, but never rendered. But what to speak of those who actually did a lot of service for the humanity at large. And if in case they get distracted, and then everyone begins to criticize, nothing more is displeasing to the Lord than that. However, the authorities are allowed to give proper punishment. Only they can speak. So therefore, criticism of devotees or faults of devotees should never be spoken on public forums. It should be always discussed within a private forum wherever it is essential. Others should not have. Why? Shipram bhavati dharmatma. Very soon, those who are fixed up in path of bhakti become Mahatma again. However, those who engage in fault finding, they commit a serious Vaishnava aparadha. Text number 8. I do not enjoy the oblations offered. So here Krishna says, there are two ways, Lord Vishnu says, there are two ways I eat. One, by offering oblations to the fire, yajna. So that yajna is nothing but the mouth of Vishnu. The Lord says, I do not relish so much so eating the oblations which are offered in the yajna. Now those oblations are the purest of all. But as much as I relish when my devotees have been fed. So Lord is talking about his deep affection for his devotees. So Prabhupada's emphasis here is service to the Vaishnavas is the best. The Lord become more pleased when we serve the Vaishnavas. Text number 9. Who would not tolerate the offense of Brahmanas? Now, very interesting. So here Lord says, if the devotees, they commit offense, so tolerate it. Don't make too much hue and cry about it. So he says, Who would not tolerate the offense of Brahmanas? I, whose foot water immediately purifies all the planets, and Shiva, carry on. Shiva, he carries Ganges on his head. Carry on my crown, the Brahmanas' pure foot dust. And by that, I've attained unlimited wealth of power. In other words, he says, I carry the dust of Brahmanas, the devotees. So if I can carry that, if they have offended you, why to take it so seriously? And the next was Krishna, Vishnu, the Lord will say, just like a father chastises a child, the child does not become angry, rather pacifies a father with a sweet words. Similarly, when a devotee becomes angry, you should not become angry at him, rather pacify him. Very important. The offenses made by the Brahmanas should be tolerated, not corrected. Who does not tolerate Brahmanas who have made mistakes? All people would tolerate. And then Lord shows a crown, a finger towards his crown. And he speaks to those inquiring why he does so. I carry on my crown the dust from the feet of Brahmanas. I, whose feet water purifies the world, have become a wealth of unrestricted power, the mercy of holding the dust of the Brahmana on my head. So now 4 Kumaras are thinking, we chastise 4 Kumaras, or Jai Vijay. Jai Vijay became angry. Because they became angry, Lord is saying we should have tolerated the anger and we should have pacified. So we chastise them. So Lord is saying in the beginning that what you did was right. So why is Lord saying like this now? That if a devotee becomes angry, it should be tolerated. Is Lord is saying that Jai Vijay, you should tolerate what 4 Kumaras did to you? Or 4 Kumaras, you should have tolerated what Jai Vijay did to you. So they are totally bewildered. What is going on? Text number 10. The Brahmanas, the cows and defenseless creatures are my own body. Wow. Lord says the Brahmanas, the cows, defenseless creature means the caged and the woman and the elderly. They're my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They're just like furious serpents, and they're angrily torn apart by the bills of vulture-like, messages. The Lord is saying there's no difference between me and Brahmanas. Such a respect Lord is giving. And Vishnu Chakri Thakur aage bolenge, Bhagwan mazak kar rahe. Don't take it seriously. Yeah, he was joking. He gives a whole puppet explaining each of the statements, saying that how the Lord was joking to the 4 Kumaras. And we'll see how 4 Kumaras will be with the text number 11. Then Lord says, just as I am controlled by you, I am controlled by those who worship the Brahmanas, who have offended others, who see those Brahmanas as not different from me, who remain pleased in heart in spite of their harsh words, showing lotus faces, moistened with sweet smiles, and who pacify them, praising them with words filled with love, just as a son praises an angry father. So, how should we deal in a conflict? Rather than becoming angry, we should pacify. And that is what pleases the Lord the most. If one becomes angry and you become angry, then what is the difference between an outsider and an insider? This is how the conditioned living entity behaves. The Lord is saying when one Vaishnava becomes angry, you should pacify that Vaishnava rather than becoming angry. It behooves a lot in a peer association. With a senior, at least this much learning we have that ठीक है सुन लो कहो मत मन चाहे कितना ही चीखे अभी सुन लो बाद में देखेंगे कल भविष्य में जब मैं बड़ा हो जाऊंगा आपसे फिर बताता हूँ अभी मेरी भक्ति शक्ति कम है पर कुछ सालों के बाद मेरी भक्ति शक्ति इतनी तीव्र होगी फिर आपको बताऊंगा that concept IT culture mind is there. If I become the manager of my manager, once I become the guru of my guru, then I'll teach him क्या होता है conduct. So until now, I should keep quiet. But in the peer association becomes challenging. How dare he speak to me like this? So I said, calm down. Don't get affected. Text number 12. Lord said, these servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that. Although reaping the fruit of their transgression. Very interesting. Seriously, this is really important chapter to go by verses and word to word to really glorify this chapter. We don't have time, so I'm just looking at the English here. You know what Lord says now? Okay, this particular verse we'll take a look at Sanskrit. This is too good. Let's look at this. Tanme swabharturavasayam lakshamanau yusma vyati kramagatim pratipadya sadhyaha bhuyo mamantikam vitam tat anugraho me yat kalpatam achirato bhratayo vivashaha swabhartur. Swabhartur, and this is what the word was used in the case of, why did Lord appear? Because my servant, Swabhartu. Avashayam alakshamanayo. Alakshamanayam, not knowing, avashayam, my intention, my servants have transgressed the conduct, not knowing what I wanted and how I wanted to behave towards you, although they're my servant. Yusmad vyatikrama. Vyatikrama means krama and vyatikrama. Vyati means opposite, which means their conduct is inappropriate. They have offended you. Gatim pratipadya sadhyaha. As a result, because they have offended you, so they deserve a punishment. Gatim pratipadya sadhya. Bhuyo mamantikam. Bhuyo mamantikam. Itam tad anugrahame. Tad anugrahame. So very simple Sanskrit. What does it mean? Tad anugrahame. Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor? So Lord is saying, what punishment you have given is appropriate. But can you do me a favor? Favor? What favor? Last line. Yat kalpatam achirto bhratyur vivashaha. Bhratyu. Bhratyu means servants. Achirataha. Kalpatam. Please make an arrangement. Achirata. So that these servants of mine do not go for a longer time away from me. Which means, can I ask you for a favor, please? Although what you have given them a punishment is totally right. But do me a favor. Please make them come back soon. What does it indicate? And Prabhupada writes a very profound purport. Start purport we can read out. From this statement, we can understand how anxious the Lord is to get his servitor back into Vaikuntha. Achirato vratyo vivashaha. Tat anugraham. मैं आपसे एक प्रार्थना करता हूँ. This incident therefore proves that those who have once entered a Vaikuntha can never fall down. The case of Jaya Vijay is not of a fall down, it is an accident. The Lord is always anxious to get such devotees back again to the Vaikuntha planet as soon as possible. Therefore, it is to be assumed that there is no possibility of misunderstanding between the Lord and his devotees. But when there are discrepancies, very important line, or disruptions between one devotee and another, one has to suffer the consequences, although the suffering is temporary. The Lord is so kind to his devotee that he took all the responsibility for the doorman's offense and requested the sages to give them facilities to return to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. And then Lord stopped speaking. Because that was the last thing. He glorified Brahmanas, he asked for forgiveness, and then he asked for favor. Can you please make an arrangement so that they come back? Text number 13. Brahma continued. Even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satisfied with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns. The Lord spoke and their heart was not satisfied. तो भाई अब किसकी बात सुन के Lord का heart satisfied होगा? Which means, who committed an aparadha? 4 Kumaras. Because of their offense towards Jaya and Vijay, because they were bitten by the anger and they committed Vaishnava aparadha, the influence of Vaishnava aparadha was not taken up entirely, because of which they could not relish. Their heart was not contented, even after hearing the Lord speak to them. And that's all. And then text number 14. Satyam vyadaya shanvanto lagvim guruvarta gavaram Vighaya gambhiram na viduchachikishitam Lagvim. Guru Artha Gahavaram. Guru Artha means very deep meaning. Lagvim Guru Artha Gahavaram. Guru Artha means very deep meaning. Lagvim Guru Artha Gahavaram. Guru Artha means very deep meaning. Lagvim Guru Artha Gahavaram. Guru Artha means very deep meaning. Vighayagad Gambiram, very grave speech. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of his momentous import and his most profound significance. The sages heard it attentively, pondered it on also, but despite hearing, they could not understand what the Lord intended to do. Hare Krishna. So we'll speak on this verse and the puppet, and then maybe we'll see if in case we have to pause. Mother, you can stop the screen. Screen is not needed now. Hare Krishna. I'll be reading from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So maybe I can share my screen so all of you can see that. If it helps all of you. All right. So what is Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes? And he, whatever statements have been made by the Lord, he gives a purport to it. And it is needed. Why? Because even 4 Kumars could not understand what the Lord intended to do. Give me that. I'll connect it to my this thing so that devotees can see. Connect it here. Over here. Devotees can see the screen. So they'll have better attention. प्रेम से लगाओ भाई, इतनी जोर जबरदस्ती मत करो. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So 4 Kumars are thinking, does the Lord praise us or condemn us? Will he arrange for the punishment we have decided, limit it, or destroy it? Will he blame us for the offense, or will he treat his 2 servants with great mercy? We do not know what the Lord is up to. We do not know his intention. In addressing the sages who were supposed to be omniscient, Lord said, these are my 2 associates. This indicates, oh fools, you curse my associates. You have used too much force. Because that's what Lord said here, right? The word Swabhartu. These are my servants. The Lord said, the punishment is permitted by me. If I had not given my permission, then the punishment ordered by you would not take place at all, which will be later on explained also. And if in case I minimize your punishment, then you will feel worthless. You'll be insulted, right? Not your words to be followed through. Therefore, I would not. I consider, and now from here, the statement onward, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur began to speak what was the actual import of the Lord's statement. The Lord said, I consider that I have committed the offense. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes, this shows the Lord's great love for the doorkeepers, taking them as his very self. Lord said, I have attained fame as a Tirtha because of you. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, they're just words of respect for the sages. I should cut off my own arm. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ji explains, since the Lord identifies the doorkeepers as his arm, the statement shows his great attachment to them, as we were discussing. The Lord said, my feet are made pure by service to you. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ji said, this is just an external praise. Does the Lord's foot thus become pure by service to Brahmanas? Does that destroy all condemnation? So, the Lord is just offering praise. I do not eat the offering of the sacrificer. You Brahmanas are fond of eating, therefore you must be fed. Like that, it is written. It is well known to the people that I eat through the mouth of the Brahmanas. I have a wealth of power because of holding the foot dust of the Brahmanas on my crown. Because that my foot water purifies the whole universe of the Ganges, which means what I am because of you. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, this type of respect is actually a joke. I mean, I have said this before also. Now imagine if a teacher tells his student, Prabhu, it's just because of your causeless mercy I'm able to practice and chant the holy names of the Lord. If you would not have come to my life, would I be practicing devotee? Now, if your teacher tells you, what would you be thinking? आज समझ आ गया इनको, मैं कौन हूँ. Finally, he understood my caliber. Until now, he was thinking he's my teacher. Now he has understood who is actually the teacher. Who is actually the guru? Would you be thinking like that? And you'll be thinking, Prabhu, बहुत हो गया, फेंको मतलब. This is a joke, right? That's what he's saying. This is a joke. And therefore, four Kumars are confused. Hey, what is going on? What is going on? The cows and Brahmanas are not different from me since they're my body. This is also a joke. I am controlled by Brahmanas who offend others. Now, Vishnu Chakra Thakur writes, it is a natural quality of the Brahmana to become angry. I and my devotee laugh at them. I give natural tolerance only to my devotees, and I will be controlled by that alone. So, Brahmanas can become angry, but Vaishnavas have the ability to tolerate. Titakshva karunikaha. That is a quality of a Vaishnava. Although the quality of a Brahmana is mentioned in the 18th chapter is forgiveness, shama, like this. But the ability to tolerate is given by the Lord. Because tolerance did not appear in Jayanvijay at this time, I have shown indifference to them. Thus, they have been cursed. So here, why did Lord show indifference to Jayanvijay? Now the question rises. We'll take this as the last question and we'll pause here for today. With this purport also end. Why did, for example, they have been cursed by you? Thus they have been cursed by you, and it will not be otherwise. And Vishnu Chakra gives another example. See, Lord was not indifferent to Ambrish. There was no effect from the anger of Durvasa. But why did Lord show indifference to Jai and Vijay? The two reasons were given. First reason is it was the desire of Jai and Vijay. What was the desire of Jai and Vijay? They were thinking, my dear Lord, there's nobody stronger than you. Everyone is weaker than you. You're the most stronger personality. And how does strength is measured? By your ability to defeat others, isn't it? So, my dear Lord, we want to become an instrument in glorifying you. Now, how do we prove you are the strongest? It's only possible if you engage in a combat. But who can fight with you? Only devotees can be qualified to engage with you in a direct combat. So, therefore, Lord, it is our wish. May we become an enemy and fight with you. That's how Vishnu Chakra Thakur makes a point that it was a desire of the devotees, and therefore Lord fulfilled the desire. Another reason which is given here, which Vishnu Chakra Thakur doesn't write a purport to that verse itself. And he says, well, this verse is contentious, and many acharyas have not written purport to it. I'll also not write purport to it. And that is what, which is, there's a kind of question mark. And what is that verse? Is once Mother Lakshmi came and the Lord was sleeping at that time, and Jai and Vijay sent her away from the door. And upon return, Mother Lakshmi became extremely angry and she cursed Jai and Vijay and said that these two doorkeepers should be sent to the material world. So here Vishnu Chakra Thakur will have to take a look at the commentaries of others, particularly Sridhar Swami, what they write. At Vishnu Chakra Thakur says, this doesn't seem to be the right statement. So therefore I would not comment. Then he gives another description, that is this, and his purport that Jai and Vijay desired it. They wanted to glorify the Lord's strength. So who could fight with the Lord? So therefore Lord chose Jai and Vijay among all. So this was the discussion, and now onwards, let's read one or two verses and pause. 15th verse, Subrahmaji is saying that they were confused, but they couldn't reconcile what is the intention of the Lord. But because the Lord was standing in front of them and the Lord was pleasing, so four Kumars concluded in text number 15. The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced the thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya, like this. So they thought maybe Lord must be pleased with us. Therefore, Lord is standing here in front of us. And from text number 16, the four Kumars began to speak, and they also began to counter the glories of the Brahmanas as spoken by the Lord. And said, no, Lord, how is it possible? And that will be the discussion which we'll take it next time now. So far, what we discussed in today's conversation or reflection on this particular chapter is about Vaishnava relationship. Conflict can happen anywhere. It can happen in Vaikuntha, why it can't in spiritual, why it can't in material world. What to do in conflict situation if conflict is something inevitable, unavoidable? Why conflict may happen? Because difference of opinion, difference of outlook, Why difference of outlook? At the end of the day, we all are unique individuals. So we may have a different way of looking at the same situation. Jay and Vijay thought, how can these four boys enter without our permission? Four Kumars thought, why do we need your permission? Because you don't need to be standing here. You are standing unnecessary. And then you expect us to take permission. And Jay Vijay thinking, Arey, at least khade to hai. Khade to you should show us respect. The difference of opinion. And the clash happens because of the difference of opinion. So now this chapter, we learn about how to reconcile those conflict situation, how do Vaishnava should deal with each other in that conflicting situation, and what action of a Vaishnava pleases the Lord is to take a humble role. Not to become aggressive. Therefore, what is right is not necessarily right. What we think is right, not necessarily right. What is right is what pleases the Lord. And what pleases the Lord? All right. Take a humble role. Why? Unless it's a very severe thing. All those four Kumars, darshan of the Lord were interrupted. So they thought it was very serious. It was still not so serious. And that's how the Lord talk about it here. And then we discuss about why did Lord sought forgiveness from the four Kumaras. And then we also discuss about why Jay and Vijay were chosen by the Lord to appear in this world. Why was the Lord chose Jay and Vijay to appear in this world like this? So that's the subject matter for today. And also, did Jiva ever fell down? That was the subject matter. Prabhupada hinted in the purport. We'll take it forward also through the four Kumaras verses. And Prabhupada says, no, Jiva never falls. What happens in the case of Jai Vijay was a case of an accident. And eventually we get to know from the story, it was the will of the Lord. And therefore Prabhupada says, yes, sometimes devotees comes to this world, either because of similar situation or else because Lord wants them to come here to preach, spread the glories of the holy name. With that, I guess I should pause here. I don't want to extend class because we have to go for school book distribution also. I didn't want it not to have the session. So Bhagavatam study continues. So we'll continue this discussion next Friday. And then with that, we'll conclude the first part of the third canto, the volume 1. And then we have other 2 volumes to go. Govinda, other 2 volumes of the 1 volume. We'll see that. Hare Krishna. Jagadru Srila Prabhupada ki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Thank you all for joining for today's discussion. We conclude it here. Madan Medavani's hand is up for reading apparently.
No, Prabhu, I just wanted to ask you the schedule for teachings of Lord Chaitanya, if you can tell us next week or the week after.
Yeah, when it is ready, we'll